On the 27th of September, 2018, the Senate held a hearing to investigate allegations of sexual assault against Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh by Professor Christine Blasey Ford. The allegations focus on a party that took place in Maryland during the summer of 1982 while they were in high school. Ford claims Kavanaugh held her down and tried to take her clothes off with a friend Mark Judge present in the room. Kavanaugh denies the allegations, claiming he never attended the party. In two different articles that covered the testimonies from immediately after the Senate hearing for Judge Kavanaugh, Eric Bradner and M.G. Lee from CNN and Alex Pappas from Fox News used bias by spin and emotive language to slightly favor the performance and credibility of one person's testimony over the others.
The two articles put their own ideological spin on the story through the inclusion or exclusion of certain quotes and facts, as well as through the use of diction that depicts one side of the story in a more positive light and bolsters its credibility. The title of the article from Fox News is "Emotional Kavanaugh Decries Circus and Maintains Innocence, as Ford Testifies He Sexually Assaulted Me." Calling Kavanaugh emotional inclines the reader to feel sorry for him and believe his honesty and concern for both Ford and his reputation. One clear example of bias by spin is created by the way Fox incorporates Kavanaugh's quoted description of the hearing.
"This is a circus."
The author could have stated that Kavanaugh decries or disapproves of the hearing, following that with the fact that he classified it as a circus. Yet, they chose to simply insert the word circus in place of hearing, diminishing the importance of the fact that it was originally used by Kavanaugh, not Fox. This choice implies that Fox News also believes the hearing was a circus, because they are comfortable using the two words interchangeably. Accepting this characterization of the hearing influences the reader to believe that the hearing was ridiculous and unnecessary, furthering the conservative point that Kavanaugh is innocent. CNN also includes the nominee's circus quote. However, the left-leaning article specifically states that Kavanaugh said his confirmation process has become a circus. Instead of affirming that the hearing was unreasonable, the liberal news outlet mocks Kavanaugh's word choice to convince the reader that he is only using it in an attempt to cover up his wrongdoings and put the blame on the Democratic senators. Additionally, the quote in this article is placed in the middle, compared to the article from the right, which positions it prominently in the title. This reduces the importance and validity of his claim that the hearing is a circus in CNN's article. The full title of the CNN article is "Ford 100% Certain of Assault Claim. Kavanaugh Says I Am Innocent." The order in which the hearing participants are mentioned is switched between the two article titles. In CNN's, Ford is discussed first, placing more value on her claim, and the same is true for Kavanaugh in the Fox News article. In addition, the statement from Ford that she is 100% certain is much stronger than "Kavanaugh says I am innocent." Adding a number, especially 100, gives her claim more weight than Kavanaugh's word, which doesn't have a measurable amount of certainty attached. This tilts the bias in favor of Ford by making her look more self-assured and convincing. Aside from its location in the title, another reason the 100 in the CNN article stands out is that it's in number format. This creates an effect where it jumps off the page, catching the attention of the reader in a sea of words, and drawing attention to Ford's certainty that Brett Kavanaugh sexually assaulted her. Although the Fox News article also includes the fact that Ford says she is 100% certain, it is mentioned later on and written out in words, making it blend in with the rest of the article and taking the focus away from the certainty of her allegation. In another instance of bias by spin, CNN writes, "A near-shouting Kavanaugh forcefully insisted that he is innocent."
That's not who I am. It is not who I was. I am innocent of this charge.
Words such as forcefully and near shouting are subjective comments by the author on the tone of Kavanaugh's voice, designed to characterize him as angry, aggressive, and struggling to remain in control. CNN's use of diction that brings to mind an image of aggression primes the reader to view Kavanaugh as threatening in a way that he or she may not have while watching the hearing without first reading the article. In contrast, Fox News recounts a visibly angry and emotional Brett Kavanaugh denying the allegations under oath. Although on a surface level, both quotes describe the judge as angry, the connotation of angry, created by the context, changes the tone entirely. When connected to the word emotional, the meaning of angry is softened, and emphasizing the fact that his anger is visible makes Kavanaugh appear genuine. Additionally, emotional makes Kavanaugh seem caring and compassionate, especially compared to the harsh characterization from CNN. The liberal media attempts to convince their audience that Kavanaugh is an aggressive, threatening man who assaulted Ford. Using the same techniques, the conservative media increases the validity of the claim that he is an emotional man passionate for justice who did not commit the assault. In stark contrast to its portrayal of Kavanaugh as angry, CNN emphasizes Ford's calm demeanor by specifying that she politely answered Rachel Mitchell during questioning. Including the word politely spins the story to favor Ford by implying that she is respectful and only there to offer potentially beneficial information, as she claims. This furthers the left's agenda by removing the suggestion that politics motivated her actions, thereby increasing her credibility. These two articles from opposing sides of the political spectrum effectively use bias by spin to convince the reader to believe one testimony over the other.
The authors of both articles attempt to influence the reader's opinion of the testimonies by appealing to their emotions with loaded and emotive language. CNN's Eric Bradner and M.G. Lee mentioned that Kavanaugh's denial came after a terrified Ford described the night of the attack.
I am here today not because I want to be. I am terrified.
The inclusion of the emotive word terrified, which she used to describe herself, portrays her as innocent and passionate, and it evokes a sympathetic response in the reader, inclining the reader to support her. The Fox News article writes that Ford said she was terrified to detail her accusations. Although the same quote from Ford is used, the context surrounding it shifts the bias against her. Using the phrase Ford said in the Fox News article implies that Ford's claim that she was terrified may not be true. Additionally, it suggests that her allegations were politically motivated and primarily intended to harm Kavanaugh's nomination, as opposed to coming solely from her sense of civic duty, as she claims. In contrast, the CNN article places the word terrified immediately in front of Ford as a direct adjective to describe her. By choosing not to emphasize the fact that terrified is a quote from Ford describing herself, CNN appears to take her word at face value instead of questioning the validity of her claim as Fox does. CNN characterizes the hearing as a bitter partisan brawl, a phrase that turns the reader against the senators by making people sympathetic to Ford's situation, telling a difficult memory to close-minded individuals who only care about politics. While Fox News suggests that Christine Blasey Ford was motivated by her political views, CNN, on the other hand, criticizes the senators, particularly the Republicans, for making what should be a sexual assault hearing centered around human decency partisan instead. Fox News also makes Kavanaugh appear equally as emotional as CNN does Ford. The article recounts that the judge choked up repeatedly throughout his opening statement. This emotional depiction of physically choking up gives credibility to Kavanaugh's claim of innocence, considering the image of him visibly upset shows that he feels the injustice of his situation deeply and is able to express his emotion without reservation as a way to demonstrate he has nothing to hide. Contrary to this description of the nominee, the left-leaning article illustrates Kavanaugh as combative. This loaded language makes him seem aggressive or violent and directly contradicts the emotional, sensitive depiction of him in the conservative outlet. In addition, it opposes the characterization of Ford as terrified in the same CNN article. The contrast between combative and terrified creates a relationship between the participants in the hearing that mimics one of predator and prey. Ford's testimony of the attack was described in graphic detail according to CNN, which used this emotive phrase multiple times throughout the article to express the extent to which she fully remembers every detail of those few moments. Additionally, mentioning it is a graphic description emphasizes how scarring the experience was for her. She also states,
Details that about that night that bring me here today are the ones I will never forget. They have been seared into my memory and have haunted me episodically as an adult.
It is apparent from these phrases that she has struggled to move past the incident, and even the smallest explicit images and her overwhelming emotions from the assault have been seared in her mind for the rest of her life. There is a clear difference between this portrayal of Ford's rendition of the assault and the portrayal from Fox News, which omits any description of her testimony as particularly specific or appalling. Both articles use emotive language to sway the opinion of their audience in order to convince them of the perspective they represent.
The authors from CNN and Fox News use bias by spin and emotive language to effectively influence the views of the readers on the reliability of the opposing testimonies presented in the hearing by Brett Kavanaugh and Christine Blasey Ford. The liberal media benefits from presenting Ford in a positive light by improving the reputation of the Democratic Party in the eyes of the country. Their hope is that constituents will believe Ford and influence senators to vote against Kavanaugh's confirmation, benefiting their political agenda as a result of Ford coming forward. On the other hand, the Republicans are attempting to put a conservative judge on the Supreme Court, so enhancing Kavanaugh's reliability would increase their chances of having more judicial influence. Through bias by spin and emotive language, the media from both sides represents their ideology and creates a lens through which their audience views these testimonies.